Up next, the Trojans are off to Indy to start their quest for the Big Ten tournament title.
The beach volleyball season is heating up, and so are the Trojans. After a successful weekend, USC heads north.
The Trojans ran the show in Indy and showed that the new kids on the block are ready to race an outdoor season. Welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Jose Nixon.
On the way to staking claim to Los Angeles and the Big Ten. The Trojans, 80-67, take the Big Ten title on the way.
Jubilation. The Trojans women's basketball squad added another tally to the win column in the historic Crosstown Showdown this Saturday. Bruins hadn't lost a game at home all season long. Juju off the jump ball, get it out of the net. She finished with 30 points and 5 assists, 16 turnovers for the blue and gold, still able to find their 6'7" center down low in Lauren Betts, but it was all USC in this one. Avery Howell puts the icing on the cake. Final score, 80-67, USC takes home the Big Ten title.
There's a lot of great players in the country, but I think I've got the two best because of impact on winning. TVO, we brought someone in to help us get over the hump and just win. I think that says a ton, but for our school and the belief they had in me to hire me and invest in women's basketball, I mean, you dream about this stuff, championships, and I'm just, we're not done. There's a lot more. There's a Big Ten conference tournament and there's an NCAA tournament, but I think you have to stop and recognize moments along the way or else you lose the joy of it, and we will celebrate a Big 10 regular season title, and then we'll get back to work and say, what's the next challenge in front of us? There's a lot of great players.
As Gottlieb said, some moments are worth cherishing, like taking down the nation's best. USC has stunned number 3 UConn, recently number 4 UCLA, and also top 25 victories over Ohio State, Maryland, and Michigan State in dominating fashion. Looking ahead, the Trojans tout the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, which begins tonight in Indianapolis, where the women of Troy await the winner of Oregon and Indiana. That game will take place at noon Eastern on Friday. So after a dominating Big Ten regular season championship, Nolan, would start with you. How do Juju Watkins and company maintain the momentum into the Big Ten tournament, and what opponents do you see standing in their way?
Well, Liam, you mentioned Juju. She's obviously the heart and soul of this team. Obviously starts with her. She's shooting 39% from the field in the month of February. I'd want to see that number go up a little bit, at least to her season average of 43%, but even top that a little bit. I'll be honest, I'm not concerned about USC's first 2 matchups. They're going against an 8 or a 9 seed, and then probably a 4 or a 5 seed. Not too concerned about that, but once you get deeper into the tournament, the championship game, you're probably playing UCLA or Ohio State. That's where Juju Watkins needs to have her big game.
Yeah, I think for them to keep winning, they just need to keep playing their game, and that's forcing the turnovers, getting out, running on the fast break. And I think if they can do that for the most part, they'll be all right. Even against UCLA, we've seen them take them down twice. I think they can do it again if they keep playing their game. And, like you said, Juju has those good games. I do think a sleeper team that can maybe cause them some trouble is Oregon. We saw them play USC close earlier on in the season. They kind of play a different style. They like to slow it down, have one of the slower paces in the Big Ten. USC kind of likes to play fast, get out on the break. They also had a good turnover differential. That's one of the things that USC loves to do, turn you over. And when they don't turn the ball over, they're almost impossible to beat. So if Oregon can turn them over and have a good shooting game, I think they can maybe give USC a scare. But if we're being honest, I'm still picking USC in that game.
I'm going to go ahead and highlight Iowa, the only conference loss for USC on the season. If there's a chance that these two squads face up again and the Hawkeyes get hot in this Big Ten tournament, I think they're a scary team to watch out for. 35% three-point field goal percentage this season so far. If they can get hot at the right time, we'll see what they can do in this Big Ten tournament championship. I want to go back to UCLA. How do they beat USC if they make it to that Big Ten championship for the 3rd time?
Yeah, I mean, they played them twice, so obviously it's tough from a UCLA perspective. At the same time, though, it's hard to beat one good team to beat another good team 3 times in one season. I think it starts with Lauren Betts. I'll be honest, I know we talked about this before. I don't think Betts looked that great against USC. I think her shooting percentage was not great. So it comes down to inside defense. Can USC stop her? I think they can, but if USC isn't playing physical enough, Lauren Betts is going to dominate this Trojan team. And if she's dropping 25 or more, it's over for the Trojans.
Well, for now, the Cardinal and Gold will focus on the Big Ten championship with the NCAA tournament on the horizon, but USC is clearly ready to make a statement in March. Now we send it over to Casey to discuss what's in store for the Big Ten teams heading to Indy.
Big 10 or Big 15? This week, 15 women's hoops teams head to the Hoosier State to compete in the Big Ten tournament. Seeds 11 through 15 will match up in the first round, while the remaining 9 will have byes. As you can see, the top 4 seeds will have the luxury of waiting 2 days before stepping on the court, including LA powerhouses USC and UCLA. Both teams have 2 losses on the year, but USC only has 1 conference loss. Well, what do I see happening? A rematch of the decision day bout between the Trojans and Bruins in the championship with various upsets sprinkled in. I think Michigan State will make a convincing run to the semifinals thanks to its defense, and I do believe that USC and UCLA will be tested in the semifinals, but Juju Watkins and Lauren Betts know what's at stake and will come out on top. I have USC winning the Big Ten. But Watkins and Betts aren't the only players to watch in the Big Ten madness. I've identified 3 players from tournament teams that you'll want to keep track of: Wisconsin's Sarah Williams, Iowa's Lucy Olson, and Maryland's Kayleen Smeichel. First, Sarah Williams. She's quietly the 3rd leading scorer in the conference, only behind Watkins and Betts. I'll admit, Wisconsin has been shaky this year, and I do have the Badgers going home after round 1. But Williams is one of the best all-around players in the country, and her 19 points per game could very well prove me wrong. USC's only conference loss was to Iowa, and Lucy Olson was the main reason for the Hawkeyes' upset win with 28 points in that game. The Big Ten newcomer of the year has had massive shoes to fill with Caitlin Clark gone, but has risen to the occasion with 18 points per game. Iowa will have to face a tough Michigan State team if they win in round 1, and Olsen's experience will be the X factor. Kayleen Smeichel does exactly what every coach loves. She gets to the free throw line and plays defense. On top of that, she bounces off the Terrapins' guard depth and has experience playing in this very tournament in previous years with Rutgers. Maryland is a legitimate threat to the LA Forces and enters the tournament with 4 consecutive wins. The Big Ten boasts some of the nation's top squads. 15 of them will aim to avoid tournament turbulence and make their case for the big dance. And for USC and UCLA, further cement their standing in the upper echelon of women's hoops. That'll wrap up this week's Big Ten breakdown. Back to the guys for their takes on women's basketball stardom.
Thanks, Casey. Obviously, he mentioned some of his players to watch, but with the Big Ten tournament ahead, what players can you all count on?
I'll be honest. First, I got a bone to pick with Casey and some of his picks. He said it himself. You can't have Wisconsin losing in their first matchup and saying that that's a player, or that team has a player that USC should be looking out for. I think both for Iowa and Wisconsin, only one of them can get by each other. Obviously, they're playing in the first round. Then you play Michigan State. If you make it by them, you go on. You got to play Ohio State, and then you probably got to play UCLA. USC has nothing to worry about on that side of the bracket because UCLA or Ohio State are most likely taking that portion of the bracket.
All right, so some teams that they will probably, or maybe match up with, I guess I should say. I want to start with Ohio State. If they can pass the UCLA test, I think it's probably going to be because Jelani Cambridge has a big game. She's a guard. She's kind of their explosive scorer. She can have some down games, but she can also get hot and score 25 or 30 kind of on any given night. She scored 16 points a game as a freshman in the regular season. I think that she's one to watch out for, and she has a duo, Cody McMahon. She's a more consistent scorer, almost 17 points a game. That's a duo that I think you look out for. And then also Maryland, who they are more likely to play with Cheyenne Sellers. He mentioned Smeichel, but Cheyenne Sellers also had a really nice season. She's got a lot more efficient. She's a senior. She's got a lot of experience. And 20 points in 3 of her last 5 games. She's getting hot at the right time.
I mean, Chris, you're reading off my page here. You took both of my players. Freshman of the year, Jelani Cambridge, I agree, is an absolute talent in the Big Ten. I think the issue for USC specifically will be guard play. And you talk about a stacked backcourt, that's Maryland right there. Cheyenne Sellers, first team Big Ten Conference, 14.6 points per game, and that's where the trouble happens for USC, right? Juju Watkins can only guard one of the 2 guards, and if you got a deep backcourt, you need people like Talia von Oelhoffen to step up. And, you know, throughout this season, it's been difficult for her to guard more talented guards.
I'm going to go a similar line of reasoning. I'm going to go Kiki Rice. I think if this tournament ends up how I think it will be, which, you know, Casey seemed to agree, a USC-UCLA matchup is somewhat likely in the championship. Kiki Rice in USC's last matchup against the Bruins had 16 points. She only shot 23% from the field. Obviously not a great game. Imagine if she gets her shooting together. If she's, if she makes any of those threes, if she shoots close to her 50% mark, I mean, that's a scary player for the Trojans to go against.
Well, nonetheless, the Big Ten tournament is set to showcase 5 top 25 nationally ranked teams with star power. Speaking of star power, Chris has more on Juju Watkins taking center stage.
That's right. Yesterday, Juju Watkins officially named the Player of the Year in the Big Ten. Of course, Watkins led the Trojans to a regular season conference title and the top seed in the tournament coming up this week. Over the past few weeks, she's had her Nike mural put up downtown, dominated the end of Big Ten play, earning that Big Ten Player of the Year award in USC's first season in the new conference, and even claimed a spot on the All Big Ten defensive team after she averaged 2 steals and 2 blocks a game in the regular season. So she's already achieved so much as a sophomore, but I want to start with you, Nolan. What do you think the future holds for Juju Watkins?
Yeah, obviously at this point, she's probably got 3 really good chances to win a national title with USC. I think, first of all, it's more likely than not that she will win one with USC, and that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself. And I think because of that, you're seeing, when you go to these games at Galen Center, you see a lot of young girls who are, learning to play basketball, maybe they're middle school or high school students. They really look up to Juju Watkins. I think the city of LA is really, not only do they endear her right now, I think by the time she graduates, she's going to be an icon to live on forever.
I think you talk about past college basketball, the WNBA is looking forward to a franchise player. This is a similar impact to Caitlin Clark. You talk about the WNBA viewership and the way it's increased over the years. This year specifically, 3.4 million viewers for the All-Star game for the WNBA versus 5.5 for the NBA. So I think that increase, these paths are really leveling it out. And when you have players like Paige at UConn, Lauren Betts at UCLA, Juju at USC, these are players that are just increasing your marketability, your revenue for the WNBA, and it's great for the whole of the sport.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think she's going to be an icon in LA, like you mentioned, Nolan, and I think she's going to be one of the defining athletes of this next generation of basketball players, really. But no doubt her future is bright, but for now, I'm sure she's focused on winning the Big Ten tournament and clinching that 1 seed heading into March Madness.
3 Trojans attended the NFL Combine last week. Running back Woody Marks and cornerback Jalen Smith showed off their skills, but offensive lineman Jonah Monheim was a full non-participant. No Trojans were the center of attention for better or worse. Marks is still projected to be a 4th-round pick, though a Day 2 selection is certainly not out of the picture. Smith and Monheim are likely to be later Day 3 picks. Woody Marks was interviewed at the Combine reflecting on his time at USC. Check it out.
It prepared me for the NFL from off the field and on the field. Just living in the city like that, it was amazing. I get my master's in dermatology, just learning from different people for my physical therapy, learning from them. So it was pretty amazing just getting around the professionals who does their job that I want to do later in life.
So we saw both Marks and Smith show off their talents at the Combine. Who do you guys think made a stronger case for themselves in Indy?
I think between the two, Woody was clearly the standout. In the 40-yard dash, this is a stacked running back class for this NFL draft upcoming. But a 4.54, that's solid, ranked 17th. He also finished 4th in running backs on bench press with 18 reps. What I'm really concerned about is why are people not participating in the Combine? I don't get it. Jonah Monheim, he's got a projectable build, 6'4", 307. What's the hurt in not participating in the Combine? If I'm an NFL scout, an NFL coach, if I see he's not participating, I'm immediately moving him down the draft board. That's personally my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's kind of unfortunate. As a fan, I'd like to see the Combine numbers. So I do see what you mean. It kind of makes you wonder, was he worried he wasn't going to test well? Was he worried about some medical issue or something like that popping up? So I see where you're coming from. Honestly, though, I didn't love either Combine from either of those two guys. Woody Marks, like you said, 4.54 is not bad, but with the guys in this draft at running back there's guys that ran 220 running in the mid and high 4.4s that I don't think it really helped him. I don't think it really hurt him either way. I do think the bench press is great. And then Jalen Smith, he's really small as well. He ran well, 4.45, but he's really small. Both of those guys came in undersized. And at the end of the day, I think the tape is what matters. It won't kill their draft stock. But I don't think either Combine helped either guy, personally.
If I'm a GM, Jalen Smith does nothing really moves the needle for me. He ran fast. We knew he was small. We knew he was speedy. Woody Marks, I'll be honest, I didn't like that 40 time. 4.54, I know it's not bad, but it's 17th out of 24. That's very much so the lower half. But I think it's kind of the intangibles that you saw. Great balance, good footwork, awesome hands, which we knew watching him at USC, but he showed that off at the Combine. For me, he's the guy I think that moves the needle just a little bit. It wasn't a standout, but I think he looked pretty solid. Now, dreams will come true for these Trojans when the Combine rolls around from April 24th to April 26th. And still ahead, the men's swim and dive team is not done yet. We break down who performed well at the Big Ten Championships. And USC struggles to put together offense at the plate as they extend its losing streak to 2. We break down what went wrong.
Fushigi!
Fushigi, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
Hi, I'm Tim Goey, and this is Fushigi. We're going to show you how to unlock the secrets of Fushigi, the magic gravity ball. No strings, no tricks. Magic? Maybe. An illusion? You decide. You can make Fushigi defy gravity and appear to float in midair with maneuvers like the prayer cross, the enigma, levitation, and so many more. It floats, it levitates, it will confuse the senses with its mind-blowing movements. Young or old, big or small, anyone can Fushigi from the minute they pick up the magic gravity ball. And with a little practice, you can conquer Fushigi.
This is so amazing.
I think it's fabulous.
I get it now.
Everyone loves Fushigi, and you don't have to be a magician. It's relaxing, even therapeutic. Best of all, it's just amazing.
It floats.
It's awesome. Fushigi.
From basic maneuvers to the advanced, even control more than one Fushigi at a time. You can do this. Mystify, amaze, and confuse your friends in just minutes.
Now it's your turn to master Fushigi.
Fushigi.
It's sick. It's so much fun. I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it.
Me too.
My grandson, he's 16. He would love one of those. I want to buy it now.
Fushigi. Call now to order Fushigi.
USC has been on fire on the diamond for the most part to start the season, but they've dropped 2 straight right before starting conference play. On Tuesday night, they suffered their worst loss of the season, going down 8-1 at the hands of number 15 UCSB. The Trojans only managed 6 hits and struck out 13 times on the evening. Their next 3 games will all be this weekend at Great Park against number 10 Oregon. The Ducks have started 11-2 and are riding an 8-game winning streak into the series. They scored 15 runs in a shutout win over Utah Tech yesterday, and so they'll carry some hot bats into the game against USC. SC is going to have to rely on the star hitters to provide some offensive punch. Ethan Hedges has been the main man for the Trojans so far. He's hitting .391 and driven in 16 to start the year. Braden Dowd's been great as well. He's batting .311 and has 8 ribbies so far. USC did take down Vanderbilt Saturday, so they're 1-1 against ranked opponents, but it's sure to be a big test as they face Oregon 3 times over the weekend. Now, off the diamond, it's championship season. Liam has more.
That's right, Chris. More Trojan dominance. USC men's track and field and swimming boasted big weekends with Johnny Brackens Jr. setting the men's 60-meter hurdle meet record and men's swim and dive finishing 4th at the Big Ten Conference Championships. The men's swim and dive squad powered through the lanes at the Big Ten Championships, wrapping up the meet with 878 points and claiming 2 conference titles along the way. Making a splash on the leaderboard was Moritz Wesseman, who soared to the 2nd in the 1-meter dive, while Krzysztof Chmielewski battled to bronze in both the 1650-meter freestyle and 400 IM. But the biggest statement, USC's 800 freestyle relay, finishing 1st overall. The final Big Ten championship standings are set. The Hoosiers take 1st place, followed by Michigan and Ohio State, but USC made its mark, finishing strong in 4th place. From the track to the pool, Johnny Brackens Jr. out of the blocks, quick and stride for stride, hurdle for hurdle. USC a step ahead. Brackens Jr. dubs the men's 60-meter hurdles and then puts some respect on Dejaz Dufran's name. 60-meter sprint, that's a meet record for Dufran. Official time, 7.1 seconds. Leading the pack for track and field, a familiar face, Johnny Brackens Jr., who was just named Big Ten Indoor Track Athlete of the Champions, wins the long jump and men's 600-meter hurdles, while Dufran takes the 60-meter and 200-meter. Other individual victories for USC include J.C. Stevenson, William Jones, Temi Ajora, and the women's 4x400-meter relay. Individual victories made their mark, but now for the bigger picture. USC in 3rd place in the women's team placements behind Illinois, and the men's squad right behind Oregon in 2nd place. USC will next be in action at the NCAA 2025 Indoor Track and Field Championships to be held at Virginia Beach Sports Center from March 14th to 15th. Well, whether it's making waves in the water or leaving the competition in the dust on the track, USC has delivered championship-level performance, but the biggest stage is still ahead. The Trojans are gearing up to make history. Now I could go on and on about these Trojan standouts. Nolan, why don't you take a turn?
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Beach volleyball extended their winning streak to 7 matches after sweeping all 4 opponents in the Battle for LA tournament. The Trojans shut out both opponents Friday, taking down Concordia and Pepperdine each 5-0. On Saturday, USC was tested harder and took down number 16 Washington and number 8 Long Beach State, both with a 4-1 score. USC wasn't the only squad that walked out on top, though. UCLA and LMU also went 4-0 over the weekend. The 8-2 Trojans face off in the MPSF midseason rumble this weekend. Tough opponents include number 16 Grand Canyon, number 9 Cal, and 5th ranked Stanford.
Number 24 USC women's lacrosse beat St. Joseph's for their 6th straight win on Tuesday, and they just can't stop scoring goals. Tuesday's win marked their 3rd straight with at least 15 goals as they won 18-5. It was a wire-to-wire victory for the Trojans, and 4 players netted hat tricks as they shut out St. Joseph's in the 2nd and 3rd quarters. 2 of the hat trick heroes from Tuesday, Isabel Vitale, who added 2 assists and 1 ground ball, and Maddie Dora, who scored the first 2 goals for the Trojans, increasing her goal tally to 31 on the season, tied for the best in the Big Ten. USC gets some time off ahead of one game against Marist before they head into conference play next week.
It's officially March, meaning it's time for madness. Let's send it over to the madness that is Trojan of the Week.
You're right, Liam. It is March. But let's be real, Trojan of the Week is the biggest dance of them all. My name is Thomas Johnson, alongside my perennial foe, Terrence Holton. Let's get started off with Trojan of the Week with USC pitcher Caden Aoki. The senior righty willed the Trojans to an upset victory over number 14 Vanderbilt, en route to winning the Big Ten Pitcher of the Week award. Aoki tossed 7 innings, notching a career-high 10 strikeouts without giving up an earned run.
For my Trojan of the Week, we head back to the track, where DeJaz Defron dominated in the Big Ten championships. Defron won both the 200-meter and 60-meter dash at the Big Ten Indoor Championships. She also broke her own personal record on the 200-meter, clocking in the 2nd fastest time in USC history and 4th fastest this year in the NCAA. Now, Thomas, I'd like you to go first. I think you should go first on this one.
You think I should go first? Well, thank you for that opportunity, because Aoki had one of the best performances of his career, and he's been at USC now for 3 years. He's a senior, and so he has a lot of pedigree to go back on, but 10 strikeouts, he's not known for his strikeout potential. He doesn't throw a great fastball, and yet he recorded 10 of them, a career high, against the number 14 team in the country, basically the premier program of college baseball this century, and Aoki did it against the best of the best.
See, I agree with that, and I think he had a good performance. I would say he's the 2nd best Trojan, and I don't agree with that. But Defron won both her events. She broke her own personal record at the Big Ten championships. They're playing against the best of the best in the Big Ten.
The best of the best in the Big Ten. But let's talk about the best of the best in the Big Ten, because they're all USC runners. 4 of the top 5 runners in the 60-meter went to USC. 4 of the top 6 runners in the 200-meter went to USC. This is a USC practice. Like, sure, it's the best of the Big Ten, but the best of the Big Ten is not very good.
She also won the indoor Big Ten Women's Athlete of the Week. She was also named first team All Big Ten.
Isn't great.
Look, also, you're competing against Oregon, the number 2 team in the country. Are you going to say that they are not a good competition for her?
I'm saying that this is basically a USC practice.
It's USC against Oregon. I get
Oregon's
that.
a good squad, but maybe they're better in the other events. They're better in the relays, and USC dominated these races. Oregon was not in those races.
I think that speaks to DeJaz. Well, first off, Oregon did win actually the entire event.
I'm talking about the 60-meter and the 200-meter.
And I'm speaking more individually. Still winning that, it's incredibly impressive. USC is the number 11 team in the country in women's track and field indoor rankings right now. I think beating your teammates, no matter what, is still incredibly impressive.
It's impressive, but you're using the Big Ten titles as your main argument. But she only beat her USC teammates.
It's still winning Big Ten titles. It's still the best of the Big Ten.
Okay, well, let's talk about USC beating Vanderbilt. That's what Aoki did.
Let's talk about Vanderbilt is not what they used to be. Can we make that very clear?
They're a top 25 team in the country.
They used to be a top 10, top 5 program.
Oh, my God. So we're talking about, they're 5
You talked
spots
about
worse.
how they're one of the best teams this century. That is not the case anymore. It just isn't. The SEC is great. It's just not the case anymore.
It was USC's first win over an SEC team since 2020. Vanderbilt came into that game 9-1.
So did USC.
That's not good?
So did USC.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt played much better quality programs than USC did heading into that one. That's why Vanderbilt was ranked number 14 and USC was unranked. It was an unranked upset.
I just think we need to talk about how overall, as an individual, Defron was better. As far as a team, it's not only Aoki, it's a team performance on USC, and he was good.
Yes, 7 innings, no earned runs, 10 strikeouts. That's an individual performance. USC only scored 3 runs. He needed that pitching performance.
Yeah, and he was good. But look, I just think Defron, as a whole, she was a better athlete. She won both her events. We've talked about it's a USC player, but whatever.
Okay. Well, up next, we talk about whether the Lakers are the top in the West. And one USC tennis go is taking her talents to another sport. That is Serena Williams. All that and more when we come back on Sports Scene.
I've replaced your shoelaces with fruit by the foot.
So you did. I replaced your fingers with fruit by the foot.
Bravo. I've replaced your bones with fruit by the foot.
Indeed you have. I replaced your guitar strings with fruit by the foot.
Seems like a step backwards, but alright. I've replaced your DNA with fruit by the foot. That would be end game, my friend.
Fruit by the foot. Fruit-flavored snack.
Are you guilty of driving while talking on your cell phone?
Hi, Billy Mays here for the Jupiter Jack. The most convenient hands-free device for any cell phone, guaranteed. Plug it into any phone and mount it on the dash. Preset your radio to 99.3 FM and you're ready to go. Jupiter Jack transmits quality sound through the speakers in your car. Instead of hearing music, you hear the other person. No plugs, no wires, no hands. Call now and get the Jupiter Jack for just $40. Order right now and we'll cut the price in half. You'll get the Jupiter Jack for only $19.99. As a bonus, we'll also include the Jupiter Jack phone mount. It mounts easily and adjusts to fit any shape or size phone. Just pay separate shipping and handling. That means you get the Jupiter Jack and the phone mount, a huge value, all for just $19.99.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-346-5231. But call now. We're giving away a bonus dashboard mount with all of today's orders. So call 1-800-346-5231. Call now.
Things are heating up in the NBA, and the Lakers have been one of the hottest teams in the league. We bring in our basketball analysts Daniel Palmore and Kyle Loquette for more analysis.
Thanks, Nolan. Yeah, the Crosstown Showdown wasn't the only battle for LA to take place over the weekend, as the Lakers and Clippers battled it out in two close matchups. LA's star duo of LeBron James and Luka Doncic combined for 59 points on Friday to narrowly beat the Clippers at home, and in Sunday's matchup, the Lakers overcame Kawhi Leonard's season-high 33 points in the 108-102 victory. The Lakers won the season series 3-1. And the Lakers' recent hot streak after the Luka trade has them at the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. It has been an up-and-down season for the Lake Show this year, but head coach J.J. Redick is excited about where the team stands as the playoffs approach.
You know, there's been a lot of things that have happened this season. I felt like, you know, the group, our ecosystem was created, and it's been sustained since mid-January, and there was flashes of it throughout the early parts of the year, but you know, I like who we are right now as a team.
Now, Kyle, so much hype surrounding the Lakers after the Luka trade, but do you think they should be considered the favorites in the Western Conference?
Here's the thing. I definitely don't think the Lakers should be considered to win the Western Conference. You know, after winning their 7th straight game last night against the Pelicans, they're 10.5 games back behind the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference. Now, we're assuming that if the Thunder don't win a majority of their games for the rest of the season, the Lakers are going to be able to catch up. I really don't see that happening for them. And so I think it's better for them to stay at the 2 seed and carry that advantage into the playoffs.
For sure. I'm going to say that they should be the favorites because I'm not a huge believer in OKC come playoff time. I don't think outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they really have anybody in a playoff setting that you really fear that much. I mean, Jalen Williams is a great player, made his first All-Star team this year. Chet Holmgren's kind of been in and out. So I'm kind of iffy on the Thunder, and then the Nuggets have had problems all year too. I think right now the Lakers look like the best team in the West because the duo of LeBron and Luka Doncic has been so good, even though they don't have a big man. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, and the Lakers will be tested heavily coming up because they have games against the Celtics, Knicks, and Bucks on the schedule. But that's all we have in here. Now back to you guys for some big news in the WNBA.
Thanks, Daniel. The tennis legend Serena Williams announced that she is joining the ownership team of the WNBA expansion squad, the Toronto Tempo. Williams also holds ownership stake in the Women's Soccer League, the NFL, and TGL Golf. As women's basketball grows in popularity, so is the WNBA. 3 expansion teams will join the league over the next 2 years, including the Golden State Valkyries, the Tempo, and an unnamed team in Portland. So I want to ask you guys, what do you guys see this expansion accomplishing for the WNBA as a league?
I mean, I think why not add more WNBA teams, right? I think there's other locations that could be highlighted as well. Boston, Cleveland, Houston. We talked about it earlier as well, but, with these up-and-coming players in women's college basketball, I think if either of those stars, we talked about it, Betts, Juju, Paige goes to one of these new franchise teams, all of a sudden you've got a completely new market for fans, for, you know, young kids who are looking up to these athletes, and that's great for the sport. I think this was the #1 thing on the WNBA agenda, and they accomplished it.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect time to start expanding. There was a lot of players that were getting drafted as early as in the late first round and not even making rosters. There is clearly too much talent for the amount of roster spots that were available, so it was the perfect time to add teams. And like you mentioned, with the 2027 draft coming up in a couple of years, that first expansion team, the Valkyries, will be in the lottery, so have a chance to get one of these transcendent talents perhaps at the top of that draft.
Yeah, I just think expanding from 12 teams to 15s adds more legitimacy to you as a league. You think back, the NBA didn't have 12 or fewer teams since 1968. And when we talk about, you know, a lot of relevant players, that's post-1968. So it'll definitely be interesting to see these teams take the court. We'll have to wait a bit to see the tempo, but the Valkyries have their home opener against the Sparks scheduled for May 16th. Now that's all the time that we have for Sports Scene this week. Come back next week for more madness. I'm Nolan Ezett.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Chris Jose Nixon.